Okay, Jeff, you're live.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, however you choose to identify. This is the High Roller PonyCon All Hands Staff Meeting for May 11, 2018. So great to have you all. We're just going to be going over as briefly and quickly as possible how the convention is just going to basically run and how we're going to operate throughout the weekend. And just to start off, we're going to go over some general stuff. Again, welcome to HRPC and welcome to HRPC staff. Some of the things you're going to be focused on, plan to arrive around Thursday afternoon between 12 and 2. We'll be going over which specific departments need to be what time, but the earliest will be about 12 o'clock p.m. and the latest will be 2 o'clock simply because we need to get set up. Now, operations prior to for everyone, just go ahead and promote the heck out of this con because we've done really great. We're actually very close to, of all things, breaking even on our convention budget. So that means next year is going to be really awesome. So just some operations for general staff. Check-in will begin at about 2 o'clock. We want to try and shoot for a little bit earlier, but 2 o'clock will be contingent upon getting the operations set up because where you will be checking in will actually be the chairman room, which will be renamed just prior to convention. You'll all receive a copy of the HRPC venue map. So 2 o'clock around then, we're going to plan for a staff check-in. And unless you're specifically requested to check in a little bit earlier, just plan for about 2 o'clock. Now, in order to obtain your room key from or for your hotel room, go ahead and head to the primary hotel check-in, which will be actually in the lobby just as you enter into the hotel. Again, we're going to have a map provided for you, so that shouldn't be any issue. Now, if you do have an issue with the convention hotel or check-in or anything like that, go ahead and contact myself. My name is Jeffrey or Starstorm on social media, or go ahead and contact Charlie, who is our vice chair. Tech Charlie on social media. I'm sure many of you have already interacted with him. And once you're finished setting up your specific department, each department is going to be a little bit different depending on what needs to be done. If you don't have a specific task that needs to be done or you're just kind of floating around, feel free to go ahead and help out some of the other departments because a lot of departments that we're going to need a lot of all hands on deck, specifically Thursday, will be audio visual when we're bringing in and doing the load in. So we're going to need some help with that, as well as registration and Constore, because we are going to be opening check-in for general admission, community guests, and VIP guests, or not the guests of honor, but just our VIP sponsors. That will begin at 5 o'clock on Thursday. So if you're just kind of floating around after you're done, please, please, please go and help out any other departments. Now, we're going to move on to the hotel. As I said, the map will be provided, but if you're not familiar with the hotel and you happen to be in the area early Thursday, just feel free to pop on by and check it out. We won't begin setup until about 12 o'clock. That will be I think the earliest time. We could probably get in earlier, but that's going to be department head specific. So speak with your department heads. They'll definitely go ahead and answer any of your questions. Now, excuse me, as far as regulations and the laws in Las Vegas, Nevada, I'm just going to go over some of the basic stuff, but just keep in mind common sense is going to prevail, definitely, as far as Las Vegas. I know Las Vegas is a party city, but please just go ahead and keep your heads, use your head. It's going to be a desert. It's going to be over 100 degrees outside, and it may feel like a dry heat, but you will dehydrate very quickly, so please drink lots of water. There will be plenty of water stations throughout the convention. If you ever need a break because you're getting dehydrated, which shouldn't be an issue because it's air conditioned, just please let one of us know. So first thing, as far as laws, alcohol. No one under 21 is to be in possession or consuming alcohol. That's self-explanatory. Please don't do anything stupid. What happens in your private room, I cannot control, neither can the management control, but please obey all the laws and please obey the hotel's policy, which is no one under 21 to be drinking. And for staff members specifically, please do not be drinking openly on your shift or do not drink 2 hours prior to your shift. If you are caught drinking, it's going to be a warning. Now, if you appear to your shift or if you're working and you're either inebriated or non-functional, it will be as low as your shift being canceled and you're being replaced all the way up to staff removal. And that's just to be to be determined case by case by the management or the chairs. We just don't want you guys like falling over, stumbling if you're trying to watch out for guests or try and help other attendees, that sort of thing. And now the big one, which is marijuana. Recently, just this year or the past year, marijuana actually became legal for recreational and medical use. However, the hotel policy on marijuana prevails, which is you cannot smoke marijuana at all, even if you have a medical certificate on premises. That's just,
Jeff, I'm going to assume that it's no smoking period, which includes cigarettes and vaping as well.
Oh, I was actually just about to cover on that. As far as cigarettes and e-cigarettes, there will be designated areas. I believe I have to check specifically with the hotel, but yes, no smoking obviously in the venue. Is a smoke-free, gaming-free venue over completely on the inside.
So even in the smoking areas, no marijuana there, correct? No smoking marijuana there. Okay.
Just no marijuana whatsoever on the Strip or in Las Vegas. You can only do it in a private residence. That's how the law reads. But again, use common sense. Just please don't do stupid things. And then,
if I could just kind of sum up what Jeff said. Hi, I'm Charlie, Vice Chair. We'll do introductions also of everybody that's on the call pretty soon here. But just to sort of concise everything that Jeff just said. Treat this like a job, and be professional, regardless of what your department is, regardless of what your station is. This goes from everybody that's all the way up to the chairs who are constantly talking to people and dealing with issues, all the way down to people that have very few @con responsibilities, which include like staff artists, for example. Everyone who is on staff who is representing the convention in any way, shape, or form. Please treat this like a professional responsibility. Now, obviously, we are all adults. Obviously, we are going to drink. Realistically speaking, I'm not going to look in this camera, look at everybody watching, and say no drinking on shift, because God knows you're going to find me at the bar at some point, and chairs are always on shift. So I don't want to be a hypocrite. But the point is that do not let anything that you do or decide to do impair your ability to do whatever your responsibilities are, or make it so that you end up making decisions that make the con look bad. Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, Charlie. Obviously, we have to do the CYA version, which is just we have to state the policy. But again, please use your best judgment as far as that. So that's pretty much all the major things that want to be cover with the hotel. Is there anything specifically you could think that we need to mention, Charlie, as far as the venue or hotel is?
Well, just generally speaking, all staff are also beholden to the regular attendee rules, and so just is, it's just a staff are held to a higher level of accountability just because you're representing the convention. Excuse me. With the general attendee rules, just in terms of your behavior and how you present, just how you're acting and how you are behaving at con, all the way from like what I would hope would be obvious things like harassment policies and things like that. Hopefully, we don't need to go into that too much, but at the very really what it comes down to is just I know it's Vegas, like I get it, but please just do not make decisions that put yourself in a position where you are making either yourself or the convention or the hotel look bad, or especially situations that are making the convention or the hotel have to have uncomfortable conversations with you. Hopefully you all understand what I'm trying to say here. And so just kind of stemming off of that, managers, if you run into a situation where you think that somebody is not in a good state, whether it be inebriated, whether it be whatever that state may be, please bring it to our attention. Please bring it to your supervisor's attention if we're not available, so that we can deal with the situation and take care of it before it becomes worse than it could possibly already be. But Jeff, if you're okay with this is a rule that Corey and I have had for Cider Fest in Windy City that we've done. Just because of the varying factors that all come into things like this, the only people period, that have the authority to pull anyone's badge, be it staff, be it attendee, be it whatever, the only two people in the entire hotel, in the entire convention, they have the authority to pull someone's badge are myself and Jeff. So if you run into a situation where you think that somebody is, behaving in a way that warrants their badge being pulled, please involve us and bring it to our attention, and one of us or both of us together will make that call. Just because of the potential liability and the potential, PR ramifications and the potential just all the different things that could cause that situation to go badly. If that's a call that needs to be made, we want it to be made at the top. And so if that comes up, please let us know. And to be very clear how serious this is, if I find out or if Jeff finds out that somebody else pulled someone's badge, we will pull your badge. It is that serious. So just make sure everyone's clear on that. Jeff,
Yeah,
you have any problems with that?
No, I'm completely in agreement with that. That's why I'd like to focus on its management underwriting, but its contrary decision as far as badge removal. And just to reiterate on what you said as far as just having or presenting a good decorum for our convention, don't forget we're riding on the history of Las Vegas' Unicon and Pony Expo, which were two conventions one that ended disastrously, as we all know, and the other one, which unfortunately never got off the ground. So we do have a lot riding on this year. So please have fun, do what you need to do, but at the same time, understand, where we're coming from. We have a lot riding on this right now.
We are already under the microscope, yes.
I just wanted to add to all this that we are also, not only what Jeff just said about the past cons, but we're also coming off of the tails of the Renaissance has been super awesome in stepping up and taking over where the D failed. So we kind of don't want to come off in a bad light to them either. So just best behavior kind of deal.
Yep. And so on that note, I'd recommend that before we go any farther, just so people know who's talking and saying what, we should probably go around and make sure that we introduce ourselves. Just because I'm already talking, I'll say it one more time. My name is Charlie Worthley. I am the vice chair of this convention. You may know me from my previous appearances at Ponyville Cider Fest and Winnie City. I'm the chair of both of those cons. And so, hi. And then Jeff, you can go next.
Yep. As Charlie said, I'm Jeffrey, aka Starstorm on everything social media. I'm the chair for High Roller PonyCon and the owner of the company that is putting on the convention. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I know I've only just kind of appeared magically. I've known him in the past year, but Charlie's been my right-hand man. He's going to be the main center of knowledge. So I'm referring a lot of everything that I do off of him, with me just basically doing logistics and financial management. And then just so we could do a little bit of simpler thing, I kind of see this little chat flow on the bottom. I'll let you go ahead, Serverette, because you're the first one on that line.
All right. Hi, I'm Serverette. I'm the operations director. Pretty much you call me before you bother the con chairs about a question, and then I'll escalate it to them.
Bless your heart, Serverette. Bless your heart.
That way that you're not constantly calling for the con chairs to do something simple that I can resolve.
Yep. Next up on my screen, Mr. Screwloose. You're muted, sir. There you go.
There we go. Yes, I am the wrangler of cats. That is the vendors. It is. You will find me at table 1. If there's any issues or problems, just come straight to me. In terms of the vendor hall. I can't say for outside the vendor hall, but if you have any issues with vendors, with payments or anything like that, come straight to me.
Yep. Marie, you're next on my screen.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to be taking care of getting all of our people checked in and making sure that it has been paid and all that good stuff.
Yay for registration.
So, yay.
There's a front
Simple,
line.
but yet needed.
Indeed. Larsis, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, I'm the AV lead, and of course I got a call right as I unmute my mic. My job is to make the big musics happen.
Indeed. Ludi?
I'm Ludi, or Killscreen. I'm helping with events. So I'm going to be helping run all the musicians and the panels and whatnot, and generally just being a pain in the ass for Charlie and Jeff.
And Indy.
My name is Aaron, also known as Indiana or Indiana Hooves on most of social media. I'm the security head, and basically anything security related, come to me. I'll be roaming around. My attire is to be determined.
Okay, all right, thanks everyone. All right, Jeff, what do we got up next?
All right, just moving on. We did the introductions, and I just kind of want to go over each department specifically, just kind of a very brief overview of what we do, what you're going to see as far as the convention, and then moving forward. Now, contras, as we discussed, we're just here to pretty much, for lack of a better term, put out the fires, make sure everything runs smoothly, works well. And now as far as logistical things, now if you have a question like, oh, so-and-so guest has a question about such and such, this will be more directed at Viper. Your first line defense probably go to Serverat, and then he will escalate to Ops. Anything that's finance or money related, definitely bring it to me, because that'll be my primary directive. So anything I want to say convention related, Charlie, what do you think would be best for your title?
Yeah, so I mean, just generally speaking, if somebody has a question, just follow the chain of command. Like, go to your department head first, and if your department head either is not available or you together do not know the answer, then the department head can go to whoever their supervisor is. Now, just real quick, also for anyone that's watching, we've got about 20 people watching the live stream right now. That's between people watching the live stream and the managers that are on the call currently. That is about half of our entire staff. We are running kind of light this year. So just real quick on that note, two things. One, anybody who's watching, if you have questions as we are talking, I see that a couple have been put in already. Please do put your questions into the YouTube chat. That is the one and only official place that we are watching for questions about this. Please do not put them in Slack. We are just watching on YouTube. In regards to the size of staff, because we are sort of, I'm not going to say we're a skeleton crew, but we are sort of light in terms of, just available human power. Do be prepared for, instances across the course of the weekend for departments to call out and say, hey, I could really use some bodies to help with something, even if it's just like checking badges, going into an event, or, just here and there. So if you hear those calls and your department, wherever you are, both, I'm saying this to department managers, in terms of being aware of what your staff is doing and where they are and everything, and also just in terms of staffers, just if you find yourself kind of standing around and without having too much to do, and you hear a call asking for help, please do come help, because I'm sort of expecting to run into a few of those situations this year. But in terms of the original question, just when it comes to questions about things, just like I say, just follow the chain of command. Especially when you get up to the level below Jeff and myself. You're talking about a lot of seasoned veterans here, like Serverat, Larsis, Screwloose, Ludi, pretty much. Marie, I'm not sure what your pedigree is, and Indy, I'm not sure what your pedigree is, but at least I can speak for everyone else on the call. These are people that have run and worked for a lot of conventions. So, if you have a question, Jeff and I are certainly here to help. We are here to answer. If you need help, we're here for you for sure. That's our job. But not everything needs to come to us. We're probably going to be very busy over the course of the weekend, and so if you have questions that somebody else probably know the answer to, regardless of whatever it is, kind of moving up the chain of command with those questions will probably get you your answer quicker than coming just straight to me or Jeff for everything. On that note, just real quick, I don't know about Jeff, but on myself, I find it very difficult to look at my phone during convention because I'm constantly just moving around. We should have, like 99% probably should have like a good supply of radios there. So if you do need myself or Jeff, I would highly recommend using the radio as opposed to trying to send us a message over Slack, just because it's just too hectic of an environment for me to pay attention to text messages on my phone at that point. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, I'll have my phone with me. I'll probably check it a little more often than you, but yes, radio is going to be the primary means of communication.
You say that, but you've not done this before. You'll be surprised, I think.
Okay, well then we'll leave it at this. Please use the radios. The radios are going to be your best friend. If you do not have a radio issued, which I don't believe is going to be, I think we're going to have enough radios to issue to all or most of all staff. What do you think?
Yeah, with the amount of staff we have, I could very easily see everyone on shift having a radio.
Okay, then
Raise hands in the air.
And then I'll just reiterate just a few very brief things. When you use the radio, please hold it about half a second or a second before you start talking because there is a delay. It has to repeat. Code red is an emergency, like let's say somebody is hurt, somebody fell down, we need medical assistance, or God forbid, some maniac came onto the convention. We hope it never happens, but again, just use code red. Code yellow is just general security assistance, whether it be line control, guest escort, security escort, that sort of thing. Code blue, please use this specifically as medical because I will be responding directly to a code blue because I am actually a firefighter for Beach Mountain Volunteer Fire Department. I've done that before, and I'm also EMT, first aid, CPR, all that good stuff certified. So code blue, I will respond to that immediately, and then we'll obviously call medic. Oh, that's another good thing I pointed out. Do not call 911 immediately unless it is an absolute life-threatening situation, because if it's something that can be resolved through hotel or security first, we want to just keep it, as simplified as possible. We don't want to have any, 5 fire trucks showing to the hotel because that'll just be more chaos for Charlie and I to handle. But moving on from that, Charlie, I'll go ahead and let you just kind of give a brief overview of Viper because Drew's actually at work. He won't be able to attend this one.
Cool. But before we get too far away, though, Screwy, your hand was in the air a minute ago.
Yes. In terms of cell phone coverage inside the hotel, I know in the vendor hall, normally cell phone coverage is garbage. So your better bet is to go through the radios.
Yeah.
Coverage is very good in the hotel. Just saying that.
Cool.
I've been able to live stream from the ballroom all the way to the panel rooms because it's the way the hotel's designed, it's very open, so we get don't worry about cell service. It is very good.
Good. Just seeing one of the comments in here about radios being hard to hear. I think most of us will probably have headsets, so hopefully that'll help with the whole hearing your radio situation. I certainly will, and I've got the nice CIA style ones, and so I should be able to hear now, unless I take it out, which is something that I do absentmindedly sometimes, which is a whole different issue. But yeah, and then so real quick, Server, was there anything radio related that you wanted to go over? I'm sure there is.
There is. I just want to go over Corey's usual points for using his radio. So don't break them, don't lose them. We're going to check out radios to individual people. So make sure you get your radio back in, because if we're missing a radio at the end of the weekend and it happens to be yours, not my rules, the person that owns the radio's rules, you're going to be charged $135. I know the radios are not worth that much money, but he buys them in bulk, so that's how much he pays for a bulk pack. Don't be stupid on the radios. Keep the pranks to a minimum. If you keep them at 0, that'd be even better. That's pretty much all I wanted to go over.
Yeah, no, I basically have a 0 tolerance policy for people goofing around on the radios. Just don't do it, please. We all have jobs to do. Just if you're bored, exercise your energy otherwise somewhere else than being stupid on the radios. Please and thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Charlie, go ahead and touch on just Viper. Give a general outline.
Yeah. So okay. So the first thing that I'll say, just in terms of interacting with our guests of honor. First of all, if you're on staff, please know who our guests of honor are. Please and thank you. I've seen a couple of situations over the years where somebody has not known that somebody was a guest of honor. I don't know how that happens personally, but it has happened, and they've embarrassed themselves in ways that could have easily been avoided if they had taken the time to look at the website or con book or whatever and just made sure that they knew who everyone was. Aside from that, the most important thing I want to touch on in terms of interacting with guests, you being on staff does not give you special privileges in terms of our guests of honor. Everything that they have in their contracts with us, in terms of their autograph policies and their photograph policies and things like that, there are no exemptions written into those contracts for people that are on staff. That includes myself. That includes Jeff. When I always make a point when I run these conventions, even for the conventions that I chair, HRPC in Windy City, when I get a poster signed, for example, I get a poster signed with everybody's. I have purchased autograph vouchers and I have them ready to go. So I strongly recommend that you do that because, again, we don't want to find yourself in an unfortunate situation where you have asked somebody for an autograph or a photograph, thinking that they would just give it to you because you're on staff, and then their Viper representative says to you, "Okay, that'll be one voucher, please," and you find yourself with that one because that would be an awkward situation. Now, for staff, Jeff, what I typically do is if you purchase a voucher, to get autographs or photographs from guests of honor, and often they will not accept them. They will say, "No, you're on staff. You don't have to do that. That's fine." That is up to them. If you are staff, and if you do that, I do refund those vouchers for staff only. That is because I know that situation exists where the guest will just say, "No, no, no. Your money's no good here. I'll go ahead and do this," or whatever. But that's the way that I've done it. Jeff, had you thought about that particular situation at all?
I'm perfectly fine with it, actually.
Okay, so yeah, if you want to get photographs or autographs with guests of honor, get vouchers to be safe. And then if you are staff, and only if you are staff, if you don't use them, only for you will those items be refundable. That is the only situation where that applies. Let's see. If you're around guests of honor, please, just pay extra attention to your level of professionalism. One of the sort of side perks of being on staff is that you could find yourself in a position where you absorb information that perhaps possibly maybe is not best for public consumption. Just please keep in mind that this is a fringe benefit of being on staff, and what you don't want to do is go to your Twitter or your Facebook or whatever and say, "Hey, this person just said this. Wow, isn't this so cool?" Because that puts both the convention and you and the guest in an uncomfortable situation. So please don't do that. It's funny how many of these rules just come down to don't be stupid. It's really what it is. So this is just another one of those situations where make good choices, please, and thank you.
Okay, good. So that's pretty much Viper taken care of as far as a general. If you are a Viper member, Drew will be getting with you to go over specific procedures if he hasn't already, and that'll be interdepartmental. Now, the next topic we have will be security. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Indy in just a second, but just some of the general stuff that we have. Security's primary goal in the convention is just line control and badge check for 18 and over panels, roving the convention, making sure we don't have anyone under, oh, sorry, that's a garage door, but making sure we don't have anyone that's under 21 drinking, because that could get the hotel in a lot of trouble, which could thereby get us in a lot of trouble, and I'd prefer not to use our event insurance. They will also be doing ticket check for ticketed events as availability. And we would like to keep that specifically to events help, because we have a pretty organized schedule where everyone can kind of keep track of everything. And then we're going to have them as security escort for the high rollers for Thursday, security escort for guests of honors, and then they'll just be roaming the vendor hall and venue, making sure everybody's doing okay and answering questions. Did you want to add anything to that, Indy?
Not really. A lot of the stuff that is security specific, I'll be handling in a security meeting on Sunday. But generally, don't be stupid. Don't be a hero if something does happen. You already went over the radio codes. Code red, make sure to keep the radio clear so that the important parties that need to know the information can get there. And general rule of thumb is if you see something, say something. It's one of the biggest things. If you see something suspicious, report it so we can at least check it out.
A couple side notes I want to throw in. Security has overview of people that have convention badges around their neck or are otherwise known to be attendees of the convention. Being that this is Vegas, I am anticipating the scenario where I'm just going to say randos could find themselves like curious about the convention and like coming up to like check it out and walk around or whatever. Obviously, any convention space So like walking into the vendor hall, walking into the main hall, walking into the panel rooms, et cetera, et cetera. You have to have a badge to do that. But in terms of the hallways of the hotel and the other just generally accessible public areas of the hotel, if somebody does not have a badge, if they are not an attendee of the convention, we have no say over what they do. They are allowed to be there, and they're allowed to act however they would like to act. If they are acting in a way that we don't like, we can go to the hotel security, typically, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, to handle a situation like that. But our staff, our convention security, should not be policing people that are not convention attendees.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll just throw into that, as far as Randa, it would be pretty difficult for them to actually get into the convention space, because the way you get to the convention proper, and this will be on the map, you actually have to go either up an elevator or up a flight of stairs from the main lobby, which will be clearly marked for the convention, and it has a sort of U shape. So if this is the lobby up here, you go around, the main halls are on this side, you go circle around, and then the ballroom is on this side. So you have a very secured area that's just for convention only. So it should not be an issue to just kind of keep track of. But yeah, as he said, if it's in the convention space specific, we will be able to tell almost immediately if they don't belong. And the hotel has said we can just kind of nicely mention it to them. Don't kick them out, for God's sakes. Just nicely mention it.
But in the scenario where non-attendees do find themselves wandering and wanting to kind of like stand up in the hallway and like look into rooms from the hallway, they are more than welcome to do that, as long as they don't try and get into one of the rooms themselves.
Yes. Okay. And then I think that
trying to sell them a badge.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes. If they have questions, please direct them to registration, which will be in the 5-spot room. And speaking of registration, I'll go ahead and touch briefly on some of the registration stuff, and then hand it off to Marie, who is our Director of Registration or Registration Department. I don't know these title things, honestly. But primarily, registration is going to be...
She makes the reg happen.
Yes. Now, as it pertains to staff, Jesus Christ, staff specifically, we will actually be in the chairman room, which will be clearly marked as convention operations. It's the smaller room that is adjacent to the 5-spot, which is actually the primary registration for general admission, community guests, that sort of thing. So for registration staff specifically, please plan to arrive about 12 o'clock on May 31st. And I know most of our reg staff is actually Marie's family, so I'm sure that shouldn't be an issue. And as well, my aunt will be joining that. So if she sees that, just please arrive around 12 o'clock so that we could start setup. Primary setup will just be convention operations, which we get the badges for staff in that room, and then registration in the primary room, which is 5-spot, and then just assist setting up the convention store. And Marie, did you want to add anything to that? Talk about how you want to specifically run it or that sort of thing?
It's going to be, I'm hoping, fairly typical. I have a total of 5 people with your aunt. If we have 5 computers available, we should be able to get people checked in very timely. And since we're not actually printing the badges, we're letting people write their name, whatever name they might want to have on their badge. There shouldn't be any issues with being able to give badges out quickly. I think it should go really well.
That will be one change. You'll have the computers. We actually just purchased 3 Dymo labelers, and it's going to come with software where you just basically enter the name that they prefer. Now,
okay.
About 50 to 60% of our attendees, I'm going to keep poking them, have actually inputted what their preferred name or fandom name will be on their badge. And for those that we don't have, they'll be printed on site, but it should not be an issue because we'll have 3 labelers. And during the busy times, like the major check-in points, so let's say 2 hours after con open, or Charlie can probably specify the really busy times, we'll have a full staff. And then after that, it'll just be rotating maybe 1 or 2 staff members throughout the day.
Oh, okay. So it would be really awesome if I could get hatted on how to use those labelers.
Yeah, I'll figure them out as soon as I can, and then I'll actually have you meet with me at the office, and then I'll show you how to use them.
Cool. That'd be awesome. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
So, and then if anyone on the executive staff has any ideas, inputs, or something that they think works super great for registration, I'm open to any and all ideas. So just let me know.
Serverat has done this a ton of times. He's your director, and he will be helping you with that.
If you have questions, I've fought with the Dymo label printers many of times. I've gotten it to work with dial-up internet pretty much. If you need it done, I'll make it work.
Then you'll be happy to know we have 3 Dymo Label Writer 330s. So they're not the 450s, but they're the reliable, tried and true ones.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Go
ahead, Charlie. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ludi. Yeah.
Well,
I was just gonna go over some. No, you go. Okay, seriously, you go.
Oh, okay. My question for Reg was going to be, I just wanted to make sure, are we planning on doing some registration Thursday night for people who get into town? Because we do have some events planned.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. I was just going to go over, there's a couple questions in the YouTube chat I just wanted to grab before we move on too far from them. Cameron has mentioned a couple things about radios being hard to hear. Generally speaking, I would say if you don't have a headset and your radio is not near your ear, then yes, they can be hard to hear, especially in loud environments. I would say, generally speaking, if a person finds himself in a situation where they have a radio and maybe at the most twice, they find out that somebody says, "Hey, somebody's trying to get you on the radio," like. You should probably answer that. Maybe move the radio up, maybe put it on your shirt collar, maybe put it somewhere closer to your ear if you don't have a headset. The supply of radios that we're renting are coming with a supply of headsets, and so I highly recommend using one. But if you don't want to use a headset, or if for whatever reason you're not they don't fit in your ear or whatever, I know some people just don't like them. Just put the radio somewhere near your ear so that you can hear it. Because if you have a radio, you're sort of accepting the implied responsibility that you are going to be accessible over said radio. So that's just sort of a natural implication as far as I'm concerned. Lycan says, if the coverage in the hotel is garbage, will vendors be able to accept PayPal? I think he may have put this in there before Jeff clarified that the cell service in the hotel is actually decent. But that aside, Jeff, do we have meeting space Wi-Fi included?
I have not discussed that, but that is something I could talk to them about. Otherwise, we'll just use the free guest Wi-Fi. However, 3G and 4G I've had has been very stable and very good, to the point where I can actually stream on Twitter. So
okay, cool. So it sounds like because especially with a city that's when we're as urban as we are, I imagine that cell coverage is going to be pretty thorough. Typically, the guest Wi-Fi that you get complimentary does not extend into meeting spaces. They do that on purpose because they want events to pay for Wi-Fi in the meeting spaces.
Right.
But it's possible that Jeff may be able to work out a deal in case we do end up having problems with that. So, but it sounds like it may be a non-issue. Let's see. There was something else in here. Larsa says his goldfish has never staffed a con before. That is a lie, and you know it. Let's see.
Okay.
Larsa says, is prom going to randomly show up again? I hope not. That's a Winnie City reference. On radio, will there be channels assigned to different departments, or are we all sharing a channel? Typically, we just do the one channel. We've done it before where security is on a second channel. These radios actually do have the capability of being essentially tuned into 2 channels at the same time. But even then, in Winnie City, when we used them last, I think we just all used the main channel for most server at.
Right now, the current radio setup, it has 3 program channels. I do plan on redoing it slightly. So I do want to have a separate channel for security, me personally. Okay. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I would like a separate channel as well, if that's possible.
I have the cable right here.
The only reason why I was considering not doing that, just based on prior experiences, again, because we only have a staff of like 40-50 odd people. But even that being said, and I'll real quick, actually, come to think of it, on radios, I don't think this has been said before. If you have a radio, if you need to talk on the radio, hold down the button, count to 2, and then talk. Because if you do not do that, everyone else on the radio will not hear the first few words that you say, and you will be repeating yourself. And then also, do not say anything on the radio that you would not want random John Q. Stranger to hear, because not everyone will have a headset. And the radios are also, basically treat them like an intercom system for everyone in con, and anyone could possibly overhear anything. I don't think that's been said yet.
Don't swear into the radios, please.
Yeah, seriously.
Because it's not only is it technically an FCC violation, if someone's bored, we can get in trouble. We just look bad if someone's cursing into a radio and it goes out and the attendees hear it.
Cameron, no, I do not believe these radios are encrypted. They're relatively entry level. What is the Baofeng radios?
You can encrypt them. I see absolutely no reason why we need to encrypt our radios.
Yeah, that's true. Bullet Chava asks, is there a general dress code or is it department specific? So real quick, generally speaking, if your department does not override the overall dress code, the default dress code is your staff shirt and bottoms that do not look like they are garbage. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Whether it's pants or a skirt or a kilt or
no Speedos, for God's sakes, no Speedos. Please.
Well, yes, that. Again, think business, business casual, I guess. But when it comes to jeans, generally speaking, I would prefer they be clean and washed and not ripped up all the hell. And things like that, but as long as they don't look like you pulled them out of the trash can or a laundry heap, I think for the most part it's okay. Now, that being said, that is the default. Specific departments may have alterations on that dress code. Department managers do have the authority to override that default. Drew, for example, as Viper, he may have a different dress code standard for his handlers. Larsis may have a different dress code standard for his AV staff. I know he's talked about having like black shirts in the past. But there is one thing that is not negotiable, and that's if you are on staff, your staff badge is to be around your neck at all times, period, point blank, no exceptions.
All right, and then that was a good couple points on that. Speaking of events, let's go ahead and just move on to that briefly. Events is going to be slotted for about a 2 o'clock arrival because we want to plan for general registration and general panels the night of Thursday to begin at 5 p.m. or around there. And essentially events are going to be specifically just making sure the panel rooms are set for the Thursday evening panels, assisting audiovisual as needed, as well as just making sure the panels and musicians get to their event, or community guests and musicians, excuse me, get to their events as needed if they have any issues. Just, putting out the fires, line control, check in with them. And is there anything else you want to add to it specifically, Ludi?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, I was saying, is there anything you want to add specifically to events besides the general?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I just want to bring up that. Sorry, I'm trying to look on our notes here. Okay, so yeah, everything is going to be pretty good. We're going to be working pretty close with AV on everything. So we're just going to kind of be an extension of them, and then making sure people are where they need to be at the times they need to be there. But I do want to point out, and security probably already knows this, but we have a ton of 18 plus panels. There's not a lot of like lewd stuff. I think a lot of it has to do with we're in Vegas, so there's drinking involved, and just some like heavy language or whatever. And then later in the night we have some like meme internet culture panels. But just something for security to keep an eye on, because I just don't want to have us getting any complaints from parents or people who are not aware. We'll have 18 plus panels marked in the comm book, but just keep that in mind. Other than that, I think Vinyl and I pretty much have everything under control, or at least we're going to make you all think we do. So don't worry about it. And I think we're pretty much set. We just need to, only thing that we have left is to get some of our schedule finalized and get that out as soon as possible, because I know a lot of the panelists are going to be wanting that information. But anything involving panels, like music events, stuff like that, you guys can come to me or Vinyltastic and we'll figure it out. We have one other person on our staff who's going to be kind of helping us out. So there's 3 of us to take care of that stuff. It's not a hard job. Just let us know if you need anything on that stuff. But other than that, I think we're good.
Okay, so that was a good, simple one. We're going to move on now to vendors because that's going to be looks like the biggest one in the notes. General discussion, vendors, the autograph vouchers will be sold at the con store. And for clarification, the con store is going to be in the 5-spot room, which is where registration and charity drop off. So if somebody comes up to you and asks, hey, where can I get autograph vouchers? Or, hey, I have something for the charity auction, can I drop them off? Direct them to whatever the name of the 5-spot room is going to be. You're going to get a final list of it, but I'm presuming it's either going to be called the Luxor room or the Excalibur room, which is directly as you go up the main staircase. You'll see what I mean you get there. But right as you go up the staircase, the Luxor room or the 5-spot, which is where Reg, Con Store, and Charity Drop-Off are going to be, it's going to be right in front of your face. You can't miss it. And then operations prior to convention. Vendor signs will be set out, and we're going to have those printed preferably before Thursday. So if a vendor comes up to you and asks, hey, where do I go for the vendor hall? Because they will be arriving Thursday. They can begin setup as soon as 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. whenever Screw Loose decides to let that happen. I'll let you go and explain that a little bit later. But they will have signs on their tables, and the vendor hall is going to be in ballroom 2 and 3, which will have a specific name. We'll just probably call it vendor hall, but it is going to be down the primary hall, and it's going to be downstairs on the first floor because it is actually a 2-story or very large ceiling. It's the big ballroom. Just send them that way. They'll see plenty of signs. And ops prior to, we're just going to be looking to set up the con store in the red room. We want to open vendor check-in at Michael or Screw's discretion, and we want to set out the signs for the table shares. Now, if we have 4 table shares specifically, it's going to be for BabsCon, Everfree Northwest, Crystal Mountain, and Ponyville Cider Fest, Winnie City combo table. They will be at tables directly across from the main registration as well as the panelist rooms. And let me see what else. We're going to plan to open the vendor hall 1 to 2, whatever Mike wants to do. And table shares are going to be out in front. And yes, we'll be sending a hotel and vendor table list and layout very shortly. We've already sent the map of where all the vendors are going to be, but if anyone asks you, hey, where do I get my tax forms for vending, they will be given to all the vendors at check-in. And is there anything else you wanted to cover specifically, Screw?
No, that was very comprehensive. In terms of the when they can set up, I'm coming in on Wednesday. It's whenever, honestly, I can probably. We get the room at what time? Do we get it in the morning? Noon?
We officially get it at noon, but there's nothing before us. So, I mean, there's nothing to really stop us from setting up. But 10 o'clock would be the very earliest.
Yeah, 10 o'clock would be the very earliest. I'm going to want to go to brunch, so...
Yeah, so we'll call it 12.
Call it 12.
All right, so you heard it here. If vendors want to check in, the earliest possible is 12. Please do not show up early, otherwise you will be stuck selling stuff in the lobby, which was not legal.
Technically.
All right, we'll pass it on to ops because honestly, I will look like a fool if I try and even talk about operations. So I'm going to hand it to you, Sir Rat.
Hello, everyone. I'm also your operations department head, on top of being your division directors. So pretty much ops at convention will handle radio check-in out. We're going to be doing staff badge pickup in the operations room. I will be getting in around noon, so as soon as I get the room set up, ready to hand out badges, I'll send out a Slack ping saying that you can come get your badge. Staff check-in procedure is I need the photo ID or your Eventbrite confirmation. That way I know it's actually you checking in for your staff badge. On your Eventbrite thing, it asks you for your staff shirt size. When we hand out your staff shirts, please ask for the one that was on there because we order the shirts based off of what you tell us your shirt size is. Another thing, all my thoughts just went out of my head for some reason.
While Server Rat's recovering his thoughts, I'm just going to kind of explain a little bit of what operations does. Operations is sort of the brainchild, the nerve center of basically everything at the convention. They're sort of the ones in the middle of everything. They sort of know what's going on everywhere is sort of the idea. For anybody that's watching, this is here's a little, possibly a little known fact. If if you didn't already know this, every convention, all the time, is at least a little bit on fire, like at some degree. It's just sort of the way that it is. Operations' job, in coordination with all the rest of the departments, is to make sure that as few people know about said fires as possible. So that's what operations does.
That pretty much sums it up. As no one probably knows this but me, I'm flying solo for the entire weekend. So if you're doing nothing as staff and you would love to help me out, you can come to operations when you're not on shift for your other department. Obviously, fulfill your obligations in other departments right now.
My second will be spending a lot of time with you, William. He's going to be my so yeah.
So pretty much if you have like a general question about something and you're like, hey, when's this panel? Or, hey, what's this? You can call like for operations. We'll have someone in there with a computer. They'll answer your questions. Pretty much, you know, common sense.
I want to point out that on the notes here, Serverette, you didn't say this, and I'm disappointed. Don't piss Serverette off. Okay,
actually, that is a very important note.
It's actually typed out on the notes here. Don't piss me off, Serverette.
Okay, so let me explain that one because I think it's actually important. If you're doing something that is like outrageously stupid, or you're just being extremely rude to attendees, for example, you're not only going to hear the wrath of the con chair, because I'll probably be screaming at you before they even get there, where the attendees can't see you. Just so you know.
Yeah, that. Okay, I think that pretty much covers everything operations related. The only thing that I think hasn't been said in terms of ops, we kind of touched on a little bit, but Serverette said before, if you check out a radio and if it doesn't come back, it's you'll be charged for it. Just kind of want to just reiterate that particular point. When you get a radio from operations, you will check it out, and what that means is that you will put down your name and that which radio you took. They're all numbered, and that you took it. So let's say you're in a situation where you're in a department and you're sharing the radio with somebody else. So I'm opening my department and I check out a radio, and then Jeff is closing the department, and so I pass the radio off to him because it's the department radio, whatever. Jeff then loses it. I'm the one that checked out the radio. Jeff's not on the hook for it. I am. So what I would recommend is that if you are in a situation where you want to where you want to hand off radios to somebody else in the department, just don't. Bring the radio back, check it back in, and then have whoever's taking over check out their own radio so that they are not at risk of making you liable for their mistake, is really what I'm getting at here.
Oh, just a point I wanted to bring up. It was actually posted. Do we usually do all cash for the autograph vouchers so that they can avoid the tax nonsense, honestly? If we do collect credit card payments just for a credit card voucher, we will have to pay the sales tax, have to report it, and all that stuff. I'm not advocating for tax evasion. I'm just saying it's another thing to think about versus if cash happened to just be handed off.
We'll talk about that offline, Jeff.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to audio-visual. That should be fairly self-explanatory. They make the music, they make things happen. Larson, why don't you go ahead and take it over?
I actually don't have a lot to say because, everyone on AV knows me and I know them, and they took the job anyway. But, there's just 5 major things there: load in, set up, running the con, strike, and then loading it all out. That's all we really have to worry about. We have our own in-house names for a bunch of things too. We actually have our own code, for example, for public intoxication. Everyone's free to adopt it. It's Kenosha. And a bunch of people here know why it's Kenosha.
Yep.
Yeah, let's see. Be there at noon because that's when we're going to be setting up the room. That's as early as we can get it, and it's always, marathon, not a sprint to be able to get it done. And this is to everyone on staff there. I'm going to ask you all, when we're doing load in, it would be nice to have as many hands as possible to help move things in. These are mostly big things, and the heavier items are generally on wheels, so it's easier to move them around on. Yeah, just be in main events, which is going to be in ballroom 1, I believe, right?
Yes. You're going to have the primary ballroom. It'll be closest to the lobby.
Cool.
Actually, you're going to be right next to the loading dock, so you have a very short distance cover.
Yeah. I've just been told that a couple people that on my staff, their flight's not getting until after 2, so I think we need a couple more fired ribbons there, Starstorm.
That'll be Stefan. We've got 1,000 on order. Don't worry.
Woohoo!
1,000?
Yeah, okay. You need to talk to this kid. Like, off the record, this boy loves his fired ribbons.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's be very clear here. This is your fault. Okay. There's
not my fault. It's
not your fault. It's not your fault. Really.
It was
really.
a joke. I did not.
Children, I will turn this van around right now. We're not going to Disneyland this summer, okay?
Get on with it.
Okay.
Question in chat. Klondike asks, are we checking in and out radios every day of the con? I would recommend it at the very least so that you have a fresh battery in the morning. If you do end up keeping your radio overnight, just the overall rules still apply. If something happens to it, the person that checked it out is on the hook for it. I guess use your best judgment as far as that goes. I would personally recommend when you come off shift, you turn in your radio so that it's no longer something you have to even worry about or think about.
And just one thing I want to touch on, because since the joke came up anyway, most of the people are familiar with the whole fired thing. It's honestly a little meme that took off in Discord and got blown way out of proportion. But for those of you who haven't dealt with me directly, if I fire you, or if somebody like takes the initiative and says, "Hey, you're fired," and gives you a fired rip, just something stupid, don't take offense to it. It is completely in good humor. We mean absolutely nothing by it. It's just a joke that unfortunately gained traction in the Discord, or public Discord. Which, if you're not on that, just join, by the way, and you'll see plenty.
So what that means is that if Jeff tells you you're doing a good job, then you're probably actually fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, my things that need to be done here. I'm just finishing up on AV. We need to poke the hotel engineering to get certain things done, like connecting our power drop and such. It's highly encouraged that you stand there and glare at them as angrily as possible to be able to get it done quickly.
I will
assist. Joke. Do not do that.
I'll do it. How do you think we got the freaking, good rate that we did? I'll just say that.
Yeah, and other conventions, like one coming up. When is it, Server? At next weekend that we're doing light duty at?
I don't know what that one is.
Yeah. That is genuinely a method that is highly not recommended, but works. No, seriously, hotel engineering is usually cool people, I hope.
No,
I've met some very fine hotel engineering people.
Yeah, same. Yes, I put obey the no sign. That's actually our joke there, where people come up with silly requests, and I got tired of saying no, so I just made a sign that says no and hang it on the front of the mixer facing everyone. So that's what no means there. And that last thing, I don't know, Charlie can bring it up if he wants.
Do not burn down Cleveland until after the con. Yes, please don't do that. And also, don't burn down Cleveland in general. I've never been to Cleveland. I'm just saying, don't do that.
It's the only city I've been mugged in. It's the only city where my baggage was lost by the hotel check-in and not the airport.
Oh.
Hey, real quick, Larsis. I just, and whoever from AV is watching, I talked to Callum, and I got the typical, shouldn't be a problem. But just so you guys know, on Saturday night during the Velvet Rope, we are going to have a VR performance. Star says he has the VR Vive set up, so all we need to do is make sure that there's a way to run HDMI or DP to the projectors. But
all we're gonna for that is basically I just need a 110 plug on stage, because the way it's set up is it's got a wire system. So I'll have my computer on the main stage kind of hidden somewhere. It's going to have the VR link to the person's head, and then it's going to have two, see if I can get in the picture, like two lighthouses, light boxes, whatever they call them, and then that'll be what sees the person. But other than that, we just need HDMI to transmit sound and video specifically. That's it, though.
And when is this happening?
This is during the Velvet Rope. It's between me and Odyssey, so it's not going to be a huge setup. And Pearl Grays works VR for a living, so it's not going to be an issue to set it up or anything. He'll have it done in a snap. I just want to make sure mainly we can get the audio and the video to the projector. That will be good.
No, I'm asking when it is because I want to make sure I'm there.
Oh yeah, I want to. His set starts at 10:15. Should everything go according to plan?
Okay. Oh, that's another thing. Just if we can with AV, because I know AV is notorious for being, or not AV specifically, musicians are notorious for being 15 minutes late. Let's try and start a little bit early so that we'll actually end up on time. That would be
Ludi, I poked Dats more about that. Actually, I'm going to borrow his cattle prod.
Yes, thank you. Awesome. Also, can you bring the entire biscuit shop?
I'm bringing something that's a little bit more modern than the biscuit shop, actually.
Nice, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, just expanding off of a comment that Ludi just made about how if everything goes to plan. Aside from the fact that this is a convention, this is a first-year convention. It is almost inevitable that something somewhere, and I'm being generous when I say that in the singular, doesn't go to plan.
Many things.
Don't panic. Just do not panic. Grab your towel, if ever you should have your towel. Reference, hurry for references, and just don't panic.
Just real quick, I've got the tattoo. Don't panic.
Oh, see, exactly. Yeah. It's almost like you were made for this job. When inevitably, when whatever it is starts to go wrong, don't panic. Seek people around you to help, especially those who have done this many times. There is a solution to every problem. It's just a matter of involving people that can find it.
This is your solution right here.
Okay,
get those
so
numbers
Jeff will
covered
just
better,
throw
please.
money at whatever's wrong until it gets fixed. That is our plan of action. Great. Jeff, hold those up again, and also can I see the backs, please? But no, seriously. I think I would wager that 75% of the people on staff have worked conventions before in some degree or another. But for any that hasn't, and for any that specifically haven't worked with, this leadership, the people that you see on this chat, I think I'm pretty safe in saying that we're pretty good. We can handle whatever comes up. It's just a matter of you, dear staffer. Thank you for your time and your effort. Please just don't get upset. Do not panic. Ask for help. Ask for your managers, involve people, and we will find solutions to whatever it is that goes wrong. That is why we are there.
There are no stupid questions.
That's a good point. If you don't know something, ask someone. It's better to ask than to do it completely wrong, and then we have to do it 3 times.
My spin on Screw Loose's saying, there are no stupid questions. There are only stupid people that don't ask questions.
No, they're stupid questions. It's vague.
There's a reason I got a no sign, dude.
There are ignorant questions, but maybe not stupid questions. If somebody's asking a question, they don't know the answer. Just the fact that they want to know the answer, they should be given credit for that. Motivational coach. Okay, so anyways, the last department on the notes here that I don't believe is represented by people on the call is our art department. Now, as in terms of at con, there's not a lot to say about the art department. They've already put in their time, so to speak. But I would like to call them out a little bit, just because Jeff, bless your heart, Jeff. I'm talking to you directly right now, but also so everybody can overhear me say this. Jeff asked, well, our artists had to make a stupid amount of art for this convention, and a lot of it in very, very, very short order. So just if you see somebody, I'm just going to say this to everybody that hears the sound of my voice. If you see somebody and you see that they have a staff badge and their staff badge says that they're an artist, please thank them, because they have been busting their butts for the last few weeks, pumping out kind of an asinine amount of art for us and for our sponsors. So just please thank them on behalf of myself and Jeff and everything, just because they've put out a lot of really great stuff. So just wanted to put that out there.
Fantastic question in the chat. Klondike asks, God forbid, if there is an active shooter plan issued by the hotel, or is it, and this is what they're asking, is it a duck and cover and run?
So Lars, do you still have our Ciderfest chat in your head? Can you address this?
So this is actually covered by the Department of Homeland Security. They have a very specific set of rules in 3 stages that you should do. Step 1 is to run away. That's actually the most recommended one, is that if you can run away, do run away. And also, because you have to understand, if you're staff, you're going to be seen as a leader, someone that attendees and other people are going to turn to. So your job is not only to run away yourself, but direct other people too as well. Direct them towards safety, towards wherever a shooter is not, basically. Step 2 on this is that if you're not able to run away, you're supposed to find a cover of some kind. So that's duck in a room, turn out the lights, try not to make a noise, make yourself not seen, because typically an undiscriminate shooter isn't going to shoot at what they can't see. And they're also not going to do a very good job of looking for targets to shoot, especially if there are. I know it's a very cold way to describe it, but that's the game of numbers that you have to do on this situation. The third one is one that isn't actually stressed enough, which is fight back. Because if you have to fight back, if you're in that situation where you do fight for your life, seriously, anything you can. I don't care that what you have is expensive. Use it as a weapon if you have to. Throw chairs. If there's a shooter in the room and I'm behind the console, that console is going to be shoved onto them. And I don't care that it's made by Yamaha, has fine Japanese maple for the palm rest, and costs nearly 30 grand. It's going on that shooter. So those are the 3 basic rules on that there. And actually, someone that Ludi and I work with all the time, Datsmore, even had a thing for situations where you're not allowed to carry a weapon, because some venues don't allow you to carry a knife or a BNC tool or a screwdriver or whatever. Hockey pucks, they're blunt. They're not a weapon. They're not classified as a weapon by any degree. And if you throw one, they hurt.
Yeah, everything Lars has just said. And Job2413 in the YouTube chat puts it very succinctly: run, hide, fight. If you can't do one, do the next in the line.
Exactly.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yep.
There's to give us a little more levity, a Mr. Kyle Baker asks, how do donuts made? I hope I pronounced that name right.
You step on the brake, you apply the gas firmly, and turn the wheel slightly, and donut will form.
It's 100% true.
Only if you're in a rear wheel vehicle.
I can assure you that I've done it in my all-wheel drive vehicle. Thank you very much.
Okay, but yeah, let's. I just want to go ahead. Is there any specific questions on the YouTube chat? We'll just go ahead and cover a few more things. But if you do have any questions that you have, just pop up. Go ahead and post it into the YouTube chat specifically right now. We can go ahead and take a look at that. But if there's
last call,
we need to cover.
Last call for YouTube questions. Server Red, is there anything on our previous itineraries that we haven't touched on?
Here's one important one that I don't think anyone mentioned. So when you're wearing your staff shirt, you represent the convention itself. If you're not on shift, even if you're not on shift. So if someone asks you a question, the answer isn't, hey, I'm off shift, go away. It's, let me direct you to someone that can help you with your question better, pretty much.
Well, so, okay, thank you very much for bringing this one up. This is a good one. So first of all, whether or not you are on shift is not dictated by some spreadsheet that your department happens to have. Whether or not you are on shift is dictated by that, in addition to any times that you are wearing your staff shirt. Like Server Rat just said. So if you are off, if you have just completed, like let's say you're scheduled to get off shift at 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and you're on your way back to your hotel room. Let's say you run up with some friends or whatever, yada yada yada. You are still in your staff shirt. If somebody comes up to you and asks you a question, I don't care that it's after 6 o'clock, you are to help them if you are on staff. If you are wearing a staff shirt, you are on the clock, so to speak. And then additionally, kind of going off of what Server just said, if somebody asks you a question, the answer is never, under any circumstances, I don't know. The answer is, hopefully you do know, but if you don't, the answer is, I don't know, but let's find out. And then you go to somebody that will know the answer. You radio somebody, or you go talk to somebody, or whatever. But just customer service 101. If like somebody has a question and you don't know the answer, help them find the answer from somebody else.
Okay.
Aside from that, Server, anything else on the list there, or is that pretty much everything?
That's pretty much.
Cool. So once again, last call for questions in the YouTube chat. Larsis, no, your goldfish cannot have my fries. Get your own fries, Deborah. Let's see.
People want to know how it is to drive a Tesla. I can tell you from personal experience. Ludicrous speed. Go.
Everything's been pretty much covered. What we could probably do is we'll go ahead and just end the live stream. Thank you guys for joining us. And if you didn't have the opportunity to watch this live and you're just watching this on a re-recorded, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ping your respective department heads, and if need be, they will go ahead and ping Charlie or myself or Server, being the ops director, and we'll take care of any questions that you need. So thanks a bunch for joining us, guys. We look forward to seeing you in Vegas, and we will see you either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when we talk to you about your arrival.
Absolutely. To every single person that's on staff, I'm sure I speak for every single person on this chat right now, every one of your managers. And when I say, and I'm also speaking along with Jeff to all of our managers as well, including in this, is that we thank you very much for your time and your effort into making this convention happen. When we come out of this weekend, well, not this coming weekend, but the weekend of High Roller, we will all be able to look back and we say that we were part of the team that finally made a successful convention in Las Vegas happen. And that, to me, and I know also to Jeff, is not going to be a small thing to say. So once again, thank you for everyone for putting your time and your effort into this, both in advance and also just thanking you in advance for the effort that you put in the weekend. We really, really, really do appreciate it. If, like Jeff said, if you have any questions, make sure to ping your department heads. Worst case scenario, we will see you all at con. One little thing I always like to say is that, especially for people that I haven't worked with before, please do come up to me and say hi and introduce yourselves, especially if you don't have your face as your avatar on Slack. If you just have your OC, I will probably not know who you are right away. So please introduce yourself and say hi. I do want to make sure I meet everyone that's on staff so I can thank you directly for your work as well. So please make sure to do that. But unless anyone has anything else, managers, last call for comments. YouTube, last call.
I'll reiterate the same thing you said. I'm not the emotional type. That's why I hired Charlie, because he's very personable.
That's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair.
I'm the shut up, you're fired, give me money type of guy. I'm sorry if I come off as brash to some of you, but honestly, the fact that you all have stepped up and agreed to help me on this absolutely crazy endeavor, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot from the bottom of my heart, and it makes it all worthwhile, because ultimately we want to put Vegas on the map. We want to save the city, and we want to make this a focal point for MLP cons. And like Charlie said, if I haven't met you personally or seen you at other cons coming up or cons past, please come up and say hi to me. I'd love to meet you as well. And Charlie and I will most likely be together, so we can say hi at the same time.
Yep. Bullet Shaba staff reg will start when Server Rat gets it up and running, I believe on Thursday. Ballpark of what time did you say, Server Rat?
Let's shoot for 2 o'clock right now, and if it's sooner, I'll send out a Slack message.
Cool. Cool. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We're going to go ahead and go off air. Once again, any questions, please direct them to your department heads. Managers, make sure to stay on the call for a follow-up. We're going off air. Thanks very much.